Hello programmers, welcome to this video. In this video we are going to learn about enumerate function in Python. If you are new to this channel, I am Walako. Let's dive right in. Alright, enumerate function is a Python built-in function that takes in iterables and return enumerate object, right? And mostly the enumerate object comes in tuple. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to use enumerate function to actually output this data that we have here in this format. But before we dive right into the enumerate function, I want to show you two other methods that we can also use to perform the same functionality. Then you can see the pros and cons of them. Okay, next up, we are also going to work on a cool challenge that we have here, right? So when we go through the enumerate function and you understand how to work with the enumerate function, then we can use the enumerate function to actually work on this cool challenge that we have here, right? So let's dive in. All right, so before that, the enumerate function, we can also use for loop to only for loop and also range to perform the same function, right? Now what we want to do is, so we want to keep track of each and every iteration that we will do, or when we iterate through the months, the list of months that we have here. So let's actually declare a variable called index, and we will just initialize it to 0. Now we're going to use for loop here, right? So you have for loop, and we start with months, then we loop through the months that we have, right? Then next up, we have to actually keep track of the our index that shows the number of elements we've looped through. Okay, so we will keep track of it. Then we can print our data out in the format that we wanted. We are going to use f string to do that. So, and here I'm just going to string interpolation here, and I'm going to pass in the index, then format it in that way. So I'll pass in our month that we have here, right? So basically what we are doing is we are looping through or iterating over our list of months, and we are actually tracking the number of iterations that we are doing, and we are printing it out to the screen. Okay, so let's run this code and see. All right, so let me save it and run it. So this is basically what we wanted. So we start from month 1, which is January, all the way to December, right? So that is what we want. Let's clean the screen again, once again, and then run the code again. So let's try another method also as well, which we can also use to perform the same functionality, and this time around we are going to use range, right? So let's move on. So we use for loop, and we'll declare a variable called index, and then in the index will be loop over by the range, and we'll call on the length function. We'll pass in our months object, or the list of months that we have. And in here what we are going to do is we can also just declare a variable called message, and then we can format it. Then what we will do is we will input the index here, right? So in this case we need to add 1 because it's going to start from index 0. Okay, so we just add 1 to it. Then we also input our, we call on the months, then we use the index notation index subscript notation to be able to get access to the element within that particular index, right? So we pass that one in here. Okay, so with this we can also print this one to the screen, right? Okay, so let's do that, and then we can print it. So let's run the code. Okay, so that is right. So that's what exactly what we have. If you don't add 1 to this side, let's see what is going to happen. You realize that we will start counting from 0 rather than start counting from 1. So you see, so month January is supposed to be the first month, but then because let's start counting from index 0. So we need to add 1 to it to be able to give us the exact format that we want here. Okay, now we are going to use enumerate function to perform the same task, right? Okay, so let's just move on. Let's comment out this one and then move on with the enumerate function. Okay, so we are going to look through the item once again, and initially I said the enumerate function actually return enumerate object, and the enumerate object comes with tuple, right? So we need to unpack it. It's actually comes with tuple with the count value, which is the index of the element, as long as the element itself, the value of the element itself, right? So we need to say index. So there's going to be tuple unpacking here, right? So we need to get a month here, then we pass our list of month into tuple into enumerate function, right? So we call month on that, then we print it out to the screen. So we can decide to format it before. So we use a f string to do that. Then here, the same way, I'm going to put in the index here, then format it based on what we want to do. Then I'll just call on the month here, right? Now let's run this code and see. Okay, fine. First of all, let me just print it out. Okay, so I'll pass in the message variable here and then print it out. Let's run it, and that is it. Okay, so you see that here it started with 0, like what we had previously when we used the range function. Now the enumerate function also has an optional argument called start, and you can use it to define where the index should start from, right? So here I'm just saying that starts from index 1 rather than index 0. If you don't pass this one, it's going to start from index 0, because by default the start argument is set to 0. Okay, so let's clean the screen, and then let's run the code again. So now we had it to be 1, starting from 1. So January starting from 1, February starting from February being 2, March being 3, and all the way to December, right? So now let's head on to our code challenge for the day. All right, so this is our code challenge, and the first code challenge actually we are going to display a stock price. So in this format, so we have the stock names of the companies, and also the price of the stock that we have here. The second challenge, we want to output the invoice of a product ordered So in this format also as well. So we have the products, which are fruit. Also we have the price, and also we have the quantity, right? So we want to use enumerate function to display this data in this format, right? So I'll actually link the data or this data here in the description, so you can copy it and use it. So pause this video and then try it yourself and come back so that we can solve it together. All right, programmers, you are back. So let's solve it together. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is actually identify the list that we are going, we will use the enumerate function on. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to use the stocks list to actually run the enumerate function. Okay, so I'll call on for loop, and I'll just call on the index, and also let's say the stock name. Okay, then I'll call on the enumerate function, and I'll pass in our stock here, right? All right, so next up, what I'm going to do is we need to get a price of the stock when we loop through it, right? So we will just call on price here, then I'll call on the prices, and I'll pass in the index, this index, to get the specific price. Okay, so when enumerate start looping through or iterating over the list of the stocks names that we have, the first one will come, and it will come with index 0, and we can use that specific index to access the price of the item that we want to access. Okay, so next up, we can decide actually to start use the start option on it, but then I'll just leave it for now. Then we can construct our message by calling declaring a variable called message. Then we use the f string to be able to format our data, right? Okay, so we call on the index, then we can add 1 to it because we want to start with 1 all the way to the end of the stocks that we have. Okay, so let's just format it the way we want it. So here we pass in the stock name here, then the price of the stock also will come in here. Okay, so we have the price, which is what we have here. This one, we pass it in. The next thing that we will do is print it to the screen. Okay, so let's just print it to the screen. All right, so let's clean this console and then run the code. Okay, let's run the code. All right, so you see we've printed it out based on the format that we have. So if you're able to get your own this way, then you are good. All right, so let's try to work on the second one. So the second one, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the enumerate function to loop through the fruit that we have, so that we can use the index to access specific quantity and also the price, right? So so call it index, and also the fruits here, which we want to use the enumerate function, then we pass on our fruit. So with this one, I will just use the start option to start from 1. Okay, now I need to get a quantity and a price, so I'll start declare a variable called quantity, and I'll call on the quantity list, then I can pass in our index. In this case, I need to take out 1 because it's starting from 1, and we know list starts from index 0, so we can start from 1. If we start from 1, we will either be out of bounds, or we will not get access to the exact value that we want to get access to, right? So the next one, we need to retrieve the price also for that specific product as well. So we call on our price list, then we pass in our index also as well. The same way, we take out 1 from the index. Okay, so let's construct our message here by declaring a message variable and using f-string to be able to format out our message the way we want it. So we call on the index, and then we'll use index you bought quantity apple or whatever fruit is it, quantity fruit, and for we put a $sign here, then we put it in the price, and the price is actually going to be the price per item multiplied by the quantity that we have. Okay, that should give us the actual cost of the product that we bought. Okay, so we can then print it out to the screen so that we can observe it. Now let's clean out the screen and then print it out. Okay, let's comment out this one, then save it, clean the screen again, and then run the code again. Okay, so you can see we have it right here, and that's the format that we are expecting. Alright, so if you find value in this video, do not forget to subscribe and leave a like on the video. See you. Thank you.